Alright, here we go. The remainder of turn 4. And welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. We are just going to tidy off turn 4 here, and then we're going to do turn 5 for you right away. We'll do that in the same video here. So in the Pacific, we know what went on. The Americans actually didn't move, and we didn't build anything in the Pacific as well. Down here, we know what happened to the Anzac fleet, got wiped out, so they've decided to hunker in the bunker, built a bunker and a couple of guys. Still have a healthy economy though. They were able to bring in 22 bucks this last turn, so the Japanese will want to start to chew into that a little bit, and they can do that. However, they do have a bit of a growing concern here with the nationalist Chinese, always pushing, and they took Shantung this turn, and they are ready to put some real pressure on Shanghai or Peking. So both factories are a bit under the gun right now. The good news for the Japanese is that they do have some transports. They have 3 here, and they would be able to bring some guys up. The bad news is that when you have the Soviet Union, Communist China, and the KMT all gunning for you, it can get a little dicey. So we'll have to do something with the Japanese here, likely be building 3 units in each of these, and then trying to bring some guys up. But they can't bring too many guys up because French Indochina and Saigon worth a little bit of cash to them. They don't want to lose that to the Chinese horde here. Now, I didn't bring the Chinese over here because essentially it's a coastal region and we don't want to get bombarded to death. So if the Japanese want to take us out of Yunnan, then they're going to have to take us out rock by rock and tree by tree. So that'll be fun and hopefully costly. Over here, we just brought the train over from the Far East and are heading it back. We built one guy in Novosibirsk that we can then shuttle with the train, trying to bring him on over. As we can see, the Soviets definitely built a stack of guys here, built a couple of guards. Now, the saving grace for the Soviets is that the Italians decided to go whole hog on naval units and tried to take over the Med, which they have been struggling to do, but we're going to show you where that is right now. So the Soviets built just a couple of guys up in Novosibirsk up there. Not Novosibirsk, pardon me. Karelia. And there's no real threat to Leningrad right now. There will be next round, right? We got a bunch of ground units that'll be sitting in Pskov, and will threaten Leningrad quite heartily. But the Soviets look to be holding on to Stalingrad, Moscow, and Leningrad for at least the next couple of turns, which means they'll be getting in that sweet $5 bonus, which will really help them out. We also have the first partisan on the board. Yes, because I neglected to leave a unit behind, so we're going to have to go in and beat that guy up. Essentially, it doesn't move, doesn't attack, but it defends at a 2, and the Axis will have to clear him out, because if they don't, another partisan springs up and the 2 of them create an actual infantry division, which then takes control of Bessarabia or whichever territory they happen to be in. On to the Med. The Med is now free of Allied surface warships. Yes, the Italians came and, well, actually the British came over and they wiped out the Italian fleet, took out their scrambles, and took out, well, everything. And all they had left was 2 wounded battleships. And so the Italians struck back with 2 subs, 3 destroyers, and a plane, and they were able to kill the battleships. Lost 1 sub doing so. So now the Italians, it is an Italian lake now, the Med, just like Il Duce had dreamt of. But they are losing Africa, so that's the cost. Built a cruiser and a battleship this turn because there are still British aircraft lurking about, and wanted to make sure that they're able to hold on to this. Now, Tobruk likely will not fall this turn. It could, but I don't think the British are, well, they might take a poke. British are kind of crazy, so they might take a poke, but all they can hit it with is these 2 French Legionnaire, Free French essentially, and some aircraft, and not even all the aircraft. I guess all the aircraft can make it, but then they'd have to land in Cyrenaica or Tripoli, so really out of position and somewhat exposed. But they do have a transport to bring 2 more units. So they could bring a tank and a man. So they could hit it with 3 men, 1 tank, and some planes. So yes, they definitely could take it out. And it might be worth a shot. But they have no more fleet. No more fleet here. No more fleet. They did have the South Africans move into the Belgian Congo for them. So that's an extra $1 because a buck is a buck. Am I right? Over here in the Atlantic, the British were able to wrest control of a couple of these convoy zones away from the German U-boats and without any sort of scarring. And there is 1 U-boat there and 1 U-boat convoying the Canadians and the 2 freshly minted ones up here in the West German Sea Zone. And that is it. So, I'm not sure as Germany if I'm going to continue building U-boats. They are cheap. They're only $5, which is really nice. But the problem is that the Americans now have landed over here in merry old England. And although this isn't a powerful fleet, there's only 3 destroyers and a battleship and 5 transports, the Germans could hit it with 4 submarines and 5 aircraft. But the British can scramble these 3 aircraft, including 4 Spitfires, which defend at 7. So, might not be a good idea. Again, it's one of those cost-benefit analysis, right? But with the Russians having come over here and dispatched a lone U-boat, and the Canadians having saved their money, now able, they put 2 destroyers and a transport in the water, it looks like the Western Front is going to be opened fairly shortly. This is pretty rapidly, but remember, I've spent all the money I can here in the Atlantic, and even here I built 3 destroyers and a carrier, and then I landed the planes that were in Washington on there, plus 3 transports and 3 men and 3 artillery. Remember, men only cost $2 the turn after America gets attacked, because everybody rushed off to the recruitment stations. Now, that is turn 4. On the plus side for the Axis, FEC is no longer a concern, and now they can take this stuff at their leisure. Not a problem. The plus side for the Axis over here, pretty big stack of love and affection coming your way there into the Soviet Union territory. The pluses for the Allies is Africa could be Allied controlled here very shortly. Oh, the other plus for the Axis, no British fleet in the Med right now, so that can cause some grief. So anyway, back to the pluses for the Allies. Africa has all but been subdued, and even the Middle East they're starting to take little bits of, so that's kind of cool. And there's not a lot of Japanese punch right now, right? If they come here to southern Iran, go here, bring these guys here, it's unlikely that this stuff could get through. So that could be the end of the Japanese foray west of India. The other thing the Allies have is a healthy China. They have $14 right now. They're making 11. But they saved some last round. The Communist Party of China is actually doing quite well, and the Soviets have a decent amount of equipment here. Those are light tanks, so don't get too excited. But here they come, and it looks like we had a little bit of a changing of the guard here. Those are infantry. So that's good for the Allies, that the Japanese are not contained, but they have been pushed back in China and on the mainland. The only place where the Japanese have really done very well is over here, and I think Sumatra is the only other thing they took. So the Allies are looking pretty healthy there. Also, it looks as though the second front will be opened up shortly. I don't know if it'll be right away, might be in 2 turns. But the Germans now have to be cognizant of that. Now, I've been building infantry in Paris every round, because if you play any of these games, just, try to build some infantry in Paris. Build something in Paris, because if you don't build anything and then all of a sudden the Allies land and you've got nothing to repel them, yeah, it's not going to go well for you. So, I just encourage you to do that. So the Allies are coming. The Germans are coming. The Italians, well, they're kind of stopped cold right now, but they do have a good fleet. The Japanese, I still don't know what I'm going to do. I might just sortie the whole bloody fleet and head towards the Americans and just see what they do. Because the Americans cannot go toe-to-toe with, let's see, which fleet is it? This fleet here, right? 2 battleships, 2 escort carriers, 2 destroyers, and 2 cruisers and 4 destroyers. And then add all this, right? Add all this. Americans simply do not have enough. Not enough jam for that. So the Japanese might just go out here and see what they can do. And maybe they'll just take the Philippines this turn. They need cash. Japan's only got $59 right now, and they're not in a position to take a whole bunch of more money yet. So, yeah, lots of choices. So anyway, that's turn 4. Turn 5 coming right up. So stay tuned, and we'll see what comes of all this nonsense over here. All right, we're going to start over in the Atlantic here as we wrap up turn 5, and we're going to see that the Americans are definitely going whole hog in the Atlantic. Well, that's not entirely true, but they built pretty much as they could build there. They built 18 units and don't really need any help with crossing the Atlantic now because all of the subs are gone. Yes, the Germans did do the attack. They did take out a number of ships and damaged the Valiant, but they lost a couple aircraft and lost all 4 of their subs at the same time. The British did lose 2 Hurricanes, and they actually had 6 hits, so they lost 3 boats, 2 Hurricanes, and they damaged the Valiant. So it was a very good first round, but then they got kind of all but wiped out by the British, and just a lone tactical survived to tell the tale. As you can see, the Germans are scorched earthing their facilities here, sensing an incursion by the Allies. And I think I might have actually forgotten to scorched earth that. That's going to die. That's going to die because that was my plan, was as soon as the Allies are ready to land, kill everything. So when you play by yourself, you know how it goes. It's kind of crazy. In the Med, the Italians built a couple of transports and some things to bring over, and they built here. The British did not take a poke here. They did take back Alexandria and Lower Egypt, though, and in so doing, they now get their plus, I think they get a +3 bonus or something for having everything in continental Africa still under the British flag, which they now have. The Germans and all their allies have been building up ready to go in, and I think this is going to be the turn. They have to take a poke this turn, or they might not have a chance. Now, the good news for the Germans is that they do have some heavy hitters. The bad news is that the Soviets built a fortification. I think you can see it there underneath the tacticals. And that's going to make everything a little bit more difficult. But they got to take a poke this turn because they don't have much for follow-up. Not much for follow-up at all. And there it's down to a trickle. We do have a little shock of men here, but this will be a very telling turn. Might actually take a poke at Leningrad, but may just let it die on the vine as well. Karelia might be the better target to take out that factory should Moscow remain. The Germans also bulked up Western Germany a little bit here because, well, there's just a number of transports here, and all their subs were dead, so they had no protection, no fighter cover, nothing. So we put a few things in there. So there's 8 units in Western Germany, with more to come this turn. As we head over here, Cairo got no bulking up because there was no threat from Italy at the time. Now there is with a couple of transports, but they should be okay. And so I decided to build 3 subs. So Italy did receive the bonus for not having any Allied surface warships, and they will continue to do so. But I'm going to build some subs back here, and they can, of course, reach all the way to there and maybe make the Italians a little bit more cognizant of sticking their nose out where it doesn't belong. They've already lost their fleet once. They don't want to lose it again. So, in the Middle East, Iraq continues to stand strong as a pro-Axis neutral, but the Allies are gobbling up all of this territory here. We can also see that a partisan has made his presence felt in Crimea, so the Germans will have to deal with that. Japan has been branching out all over India, And yet, here we are in Bombay, where a lone Gurkha stands a post. Hopefully he can hold on for the sake of the FEC. They have not much else going on. The Japanese had incredible luck this turn as they invaded all these islands with nothing but infantry. And in each invasion, their infantry got hits. I used the bonsai charge dice on the islands, and it worked beautifully. They also took the Philippines, all for the loss of 1 infantry. So the fort has 2 5s, and it upgrades the 2 Marines that were there, and nobody got, or only 1 person got a hit. So China continues to be a thorn in the side of the Japanese. Took Kwangtung back, but left only 1 guy there because, hey, it only needed 1 guy to take, and of course you don't want to be where all the battleships can bombard you. So they're just trying to remain relevant, put some pressure on these factories. Japanese built 3 infantry there, 3 infantry there, and landed some fighters to give it a little bit more of a spine. The Soviets continue to send more men and material this way, as do the Chinese communists. And Korea has fallen under the sphere of influence of the Soviet Union. Over here, the Japanese came down. There is a couple of American boats in the convoy zone here. That convoy zone. And the Japanese went in and killed both of them and didn't lose anything for it. And, oh, I've got to take $5 off because they're getting convoyed. I got to put a little convoy. I'm going to grab one of these bad boys here. This is one of the HBG convoy guys that you can buy at HBG. They kind of stand out a little bit more, you know, showing you that there's a real disruption going on with the convoying. I put the little horrible paint job on, and I glued on a little flame there from Litgo Acrylics. But yeah, so the Americans are going to be down a nickel there. But the Americans built a whole bunch of cheap little boats. Oh, and I didn't do it, but I meant to do it. This is what happens when you play by yourself. Anyway, the whole American fleet is just off the California coast here. They obviously wouldn't sit there with the massive Japanese presence lurking nearby. So they've come back there, but I built a bunch of cheap boats here. Little sub chasers and a couple of subs. Sub chasers are nice. They're only $4. They only attack at a 2, but they defend at a 3. So they defend a little bit better than subs. All right. That is it for round 5. That's all the time we have today. So hopefully you are finding this entertaining. Let me know what you think is going to happen. This is an either-or game. The West definitely here. The Allies in the West are primed and ready to go for a fairly substantial landing. Don't want to use the D-Day dice yet because that allows me to bring over a handful of units for free. And I'm probably not going to have a handful of units to bring over yet. So I've got to build up a little bit more to make full use of the D-Day die. Might also land in Norway, right? And start putting pressure up north. But we'll see. I think these 2 attacks are really going to help decide what's going to happen in this game. You may notice the Italian bomber is gone. Yes, I tried something. So from here, it's got the air base in Taranto. So 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Or 7 could have landed there. So I took a poke at that guy with 2 4s, and I missed, and he shot the bomber down. So I was hoping to do a bit of a can opener because there's another about 10 German fast units that could make it to Moscow. So that might be fairly telling. We won't know until we roll some dice. But turn 6, we'll see the invasion, or the attempted invasion of Moscow, possibly Stalingrad. We'll see what kind of mood we're in. And I think I'll probably wait, because then I can move these units here, these 10 units here, into position to attack the following turn with the help of some infantry and even a couple of SS divisions. Pretty cool. All right. Thanks for watching, folks. We will say adieu. And remember to hug your loved ones. Thank you, friends, for playing. And may those dice be with you.